What started as protests against fuel prices has spiraled into something much wider in Kazakhstan. On Wednesday, protesters stormed the president's official residence and set it on fire in a sign of the growing anger boiling over in one of Asia's largest countries. Security forces say they've killed dozens of rioters on the streets of Almaty, the country's financial hub and largest city. Regional neighbours, including Russia, have now sent in troops to help at the request of the Kazakh president, has become a focal point of the demonstrators' anger.
The
terrorist mobs are essentially international. They underwent serious training abroad, and their attack of Kazakhstan should be viewed as an act of aggression.
The trigger for the clashes was a doubling of the price of gas, but the spread of the protests to Almaty and the capital Nur-Sultan signify wider discontent, partly aimed at President Tokayev's predecessor Nur-Sultan Nazarbayev, who'd ruled the country since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Despite stepping down in 2019, many think he still calls the shots.
Lots of versions of what happened here have been told. You have to understand what has happened here. The coiled spring has now been unleashed after 30 years. Look, all of us have been fired upon.
Police say a dozen officers have been killed and more than 350 injured in the violence so far. Blood-stained and burnt-out vehicles, evidence of the casualties on both sides. Further afield, concern is growing over the protests and their impact on the wider region.
Obviously, following with concern and monitoring the situation in Kazakhstan, I think it's very important for all involved in these current events to exercise restraint, refrain from violence, and promote dialogue in addressing all of the pertinent issues.
Despite its vast natural resources, many Kazakhs feel they've been left behind by an elite that's profited from decades of oil-led economic growth. Kazakhstan's government has resigned because of the protests. As for President Tokayev, now backed by foreign forces, he's vowing maximum toughness in his response. On Thursday, thousands gathered again in the city of Aktau in another display of defiance. And with little sign of protesters backing down, the deadly standoff between police and the people may have some way left to run. Naweed Jabakil, CGTN.